there may be some of you listening to this that's doing something that it's just a soul-sucking job or something that's just not working. And I'm finding that things are happening. There's a lot of opportunity right now.
Hello, and welcome to the Millennial Mastermind Podcast. I'm your host, Brad Mulvey. If you're a millennial looking for actionable advice and a proven formula on how to build the life of your dreams, then this is the show for you. Each week, I'll be connecting with inspiring guests who will be sharing their wisdom on how to reach success. So if you're ready to take your life to the next level, buckle up and enjoy the ride. Hey guys, welcome to the show. Have you ever asked yourself, how can you retire by age 40? Well, today's guest is here to tell us just that and how he was able to do that at a very rapid pace. Tim Rhode was able to fulfill his dream of becoming a ski bum, but he did it a little backwards by retiring at age 40 and then moving out to the mountains. Not to mention, he did all this after being a grocery clerk until the age of 25. Now Tim has gone on to found a nonprofit called One Life Fully Lived, which has the mission of having 10 million people create their best lives possible. And he's also co-founded a group called GoBundance, which is a tribe for healthy, wealthy, and generous men. In this episode, Tim shares his strategies on how to quickly reach the financial success required to walk away from work at a young age and do the things that you have always dreamed of doing. And another fun fact about this episode, after we recorded it, Tim and I were talking, and it turns out just the universe working in mysterious ways that we were attending an event together the very next week. So this was a blast for me to get to meet Tim before actually meeting him in person, and I know you guys are going to love this conversation. So with that, please welcome Tim Rhode. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Millennial Mastermind Podcast. So grateful to have you here yet again for another episode, and if you can believe it or not, we have another amazing guest. So today I am super excited to introduce you to Tim Rhode. Tim, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Brad. Thanks for having me on, and I appreciate talking to y'all.
Yeah, no, thank you for being here. So just to kick things off, would you mind giving the audience a little bit of background on yourself? I know you've had a really amazing journey to get to the point where you are today. Would you mind taking a step back and walking us through that at a high level?
Sure. Really quickly, I was the one in the back of your high school class throwing spit wads at you and looking out the window, paying zero attention because I just didn't see the benefits of learning the periodic tables and trigonometry and stuff that just didn't really make sense of why we needed it. So subsequently, I got off to a late start in life, and at 25 years old, I was a part-time grocery clerk, literally painting addresses on people's curbs so I could buy diapers for my two small kids that were 3 and 1. And then I found my niche selling real estate, and for the next 18 years, I sold about 2,500 homes. And what I did different than most is I still lived like that part-time grocery clerk, really minded what's coming in, what's going out, what's left to invest. I learned how to invest wisely, and I was able to retire at 40 years old financially free. And then I was kind of a ski bum for the next 10 years from 40 to 50, and now I'm 57. And for the last 7 years, I've ran a nonprofit called One Life Fully Lived, and also helped start an adventure travel mastermind group called GoBundance, which is a mastery level of One Life. And that's who I am. I have a wife and 3 kids, and they're all grown now, and I get the goods in the woods and help people find their best life, and got a good gig, Brad.
I love it. I love it. So taking a step back to kind of early in that journey when you were making that transition from being a grocery clerk and painting addresses on curbs to switching the gears a little bit to start selling real estate and sending, I think you said 2,500 different properties. What happened at that point in your life? What was the change, or how did you make that transition to go from doing that work that you were at the grocery store and just getting by with getting groceries and getting diapers for your kids to being able to take that huge leap forward?
Well, anybody that's listening to this podcast is doing exactly what I did. I continued my education. Remember me saying the periodic tables and trigonometry? I had no use for them. They weren't where I'm going, but I dialed into all the what's right in front of me. What do I need to learn right now and master to get me to the next level? I never knew why I had such a burning desire to do this, but I wanted to attain financial security for my family, and I never knew why, but I just had this burning desire, and so to do that, I needed to keep investing in me and keep believing in me and learning and growing and learning the next thing that's in front of me. So there were no podcasts then, but I listened to Jim Rohn, and I paid for Tony Robbins' Life Mastery, and I went to a lot of like there was a guy named Mike Ferry who was a real estate guru, and Howard Brinton, and I learned what other masters were doing to sell a lot of real estate from people outside my area, and brought all those techniques back and was able to master that one thing at that time. And I also didn't try to do 5 other businesses, and I know a lot of people struggle with that. We entrepreneurs have so many wonderful ideas. We're like a kid in a candy store, and you can only do so much.
Yeah, no, I think that's a trap that a lot of us fall into, is that you see that next shiny object, and it's hard not to go after it right away when you haven't quite mastered where you're at and the thing you're working on at the present moment. So do you remember back in that time your first real estate transaction? It sounds like you may have been in a situation where you didn't have a ton of money in the bank to go out and get super creative or lucrative on these deals. What did that first one look like?
So I'm glad you brought that up. So first of all, I was still a grocery clerk the last year. The first year I had my license, and I was just referring people out of my line, and finally got the courage to give up the union job with benefits and stuff. Because I was getting a lot of referrals, and I'm talking a lot of real estate. So I quit the grocery business. And the first weekend I held an open house and sold the house. And those people had a house they needed to list in order to buy the other house. So I got my first listing, first sale. And the next day I took some buyers out and sold another house. So my first weekend, I did 3 transactions, and I remember sitting in the bathtub at 2 a.m. trying to calm down because I knew it was on. I was a salesman who had found his calling, and I chain smoked at the time, and I drank pots of coffee, and every morning I would crank the song "Welcome to the Jungle." And just freaking driving, chain smoking, drinking coffee, going to the office, and I was just really strong bull in a china shop. Try to tell me no, all head, yeah.
That's incredible.
I'm sure some of you can relate to this.
Yeah. No, it paints a phenomenal picture of just getting yourself psyched up in the morning with smoke barreling out of the window and a full mug of coffee.
Yeah. I would recommend that, by the way.
Yeah. It may have been appealing at the time, but
yeah.
So you mentioned, though, that once you started to see some of that success, your lifestyle didn't change all that much. You said that you were still living as if you were a grocery clerk and living on that income. Would love to get your feedback on kind of your thoughts around living within your means, and then also it sounds like you were living below your means as well. And then also you mentioned earlier before we started recording the financial ABCs. So we'd love to hear what that's all about.
Yeah, Brad. So One Life Fully Lived, our nonprofit, is all about, if you put it into a word, the word is fulfillment. It's living this beautiful life that we're all put here to live. And that comes through a level of mastery. And the backbone of everything we teach in One Life Fully Lived is the financial piece of knowing what's coming in, what's going out, and what's left to invest. And I call those the financial ABCs. A is what's coming in from all income sources. And let's just touch on that. We want to maximize. We want to play offense on A. Most people think about vertical income. They want a bigger paycheck. In the world, in the ecosystem we operate in, it's we want horizontal income. We want a lot of paychecks. And I got a buddy, David Osborne. He wrote an incredible book called Wealth Can't Wait. David has over 200 income sources. Every month, he doesn't work hard. He's got a lot of people under him. He's got 4 companies with 3 deep in each company. So there's 3 people that answer to the people above, and he just gets the overview. So does very little work and gets over 200 paychecks. And that's a mastery level of A. Okay, so A, you want as many income sources as possible. B is you want to know what's coming in, what's going out, what's left to invest. That's the defense part of it. And that's the knowing where your leakage is. Where am I wasting money every month? Okay, and so that's the B. And then C is having knowledge of how to invest. Where can I put my money where it's not just safe and not earning anything? How can I put that money to work for me that creates passive income? So someday if you choose to, you don't ever have to work again. And I made the decision at 40 years old. I had enough passive income coming in from real estate and notes and stuff where I chose to quit working, and I've never, quote, worked a day in my life since.
I love that. So, on paper, that looks like a great strategy. You take care of your A, your B, and your C. But for somebody who's listening to this, and I'll loop myself in this bucket and thinking, where should I start on the ABC? Does it go in order? First, you take care of offense A, and then your defense on what's going on in B, and then look at investment? Or is it something that you need to be doing all 3 at the same time? Do you have any
This is a great question. The first thing you got to do is do an inventory. Let's use the analogy of health and fitness, because I brought up the chain smoking and stuff. And by the way, listen to this. This is a great quote. When I'm 57 years old, I'm gray hair. You can't see me. When you're 57, you're gonna either hug yourself or curse yourself for the health and fitness and financial decisions you make in your 20s and 30s. And I can only imagine how you're going to feel about it at 70 or 80 if you make it that long. Mm-hmm. But so the stuff that you take for granted now really becomes more important as you get down the road. And boy, I don't know that the 23-year-old in me would have listened to this, but if you can, think about your health and fitness. Think about financially getting somewhere. Okay, and that's what we're talking about. It's about being mindful about your choices. So the first thing is to take an inventory of where you are financially. How well do I track my ABCs? That's the first thing I do. And if you don't, you guys, there's free software. There's software for like $5 a month that tracks what's coming in, what's going out, that just manages all of this, and really take the time to know your numbers. In my world, everybody knows their net worth. They know what percentage of there's a game have you ever heard of Cash Flow by Robert Kiyosaki?
I have, yeah.
Yeah. So in the game, the object is to get out of the rat race and onto the fast track. And that's when your passive income, which means income from not working, from just investment sources, is higher than what it costs you to live. You get to turn over your life's game board and live in an entirely different world of your choices. And I talked about that earlier. So the first thing is to track it and know where you are. And then the second thing I'd say, and this is a hard thing to do, is look at where is your leakage. Because old football coach Vince Lombardi said defense wins championships. And the reason most people don't get anywhere is as their income starts going up, they're making $60,000, $100,000, $300,000, and they spend $59.99 and $299. And I've met people who make $1 million a year that don't know how much they spend. It's somewhere between 800 and 1.2. That's ridiculous. So it's about being mindful about those numbers and learning all you can. And then it's about finding models of people who are investing wisely and crushing it. And learning from them, and buy those people breakfast, and that's our ecosystem at One Life Fully Lived and GoBundance is people who are mastering this. I have a lot of friends in their 20s who are financially free.
Yeah, that's really helpful to understand where on that journey you can start to kind of see where the holes are, see where you can start making some of those easier changes or some of the low hanging fruit that you can do today. And one resource I'd throw out there for people is a site called mint.com. Is a phenomenal free resource for tracking your budget. It just links to your bank account, and you can track what's coming in and what's going out using that resource.
That's awesome, bro.
So is there one mistake that comes to mind? So as you're talking about these financial ABCs and some of the audience is listening to kind of where to start. They want to do that inventory, start making sure they understand where they currently stand. Is there one mistake that you see over and over that either young people in general are making or just people that you work with or coach or see within your community over at One Life Fully Lived when they come in? Is there somewhere that people should immediately think about that's a common mistake?
You know, we touched on it earlier, but we didn't go deep, and that's the power of focus. Like when I listed and sold real estate, I'd get a lot of opportunities. People could see that I was a good salesperson, wanted me to sell, water purifiers and phone systems and all sorts of stuff, and not even counting all the multi-level marketing stuff that people came to me with. And I knew if I just focused on what I called key performance indicators, if I worked so many days a month with so many hours per day, and in that day had so many dollar productive hours, which is either prospecting or sitting with a customer, not working on paperwork, not talking about my favorite sports stuff, not hanging out in the office, dollar productive activity. And then that would lead to so many listing appointments, which would lead to, and those were the things I could control. That's all I focused on were the things that made a difference versus just wasting a lot of time, which gets you somewhere.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So avoiding those time wasting activities that aren't going to affect your KPIs, your key performance indicators, and are things that don't have that return on your time. Essentially, that's the pitfall there.
Yeah, that's what is just not staying focused on what they're doing during the day and working 3 other side hustles. Maybe one of those makes sense, and maybe 2 others that you're trying to do are just sucking your time that's more valuable if you just focus on one thing. A friend of mine says it best, it's hard enough to roll one wheelbarrow up a hill, much less trying to roll three.
I love that. I think that really strikes home for me, because it's easy to find another one or two things to do on the side that seem like they're contributing, but maybe just be sucking away that time from your core focus.
Right. Hey, and one other thing, Brad, that's really come to me recently is there may be some of you listening to this that's doing something that it's just a soul-sucking job or something that's just not working. And I'm finding that, I don't know what it's like where you are, Brad, but in my world, which is like Northern California, Reno, Nevada area near Lake Tahoe, things are happening. There's a lot of opportunity right now. As an example, I was just at a conference and a friend of mine said he needs just sharp, hardworking people he can trust that would make over $100,000 a year working for him in his real estate ventures. And he's a great guy. And I've got a good friend who is doing something he doesn't like. He's a fireman and inhaling a lot of smoke and stuff, and kind of done with that, a wildland firefighter, and he's got a good career. But what I'm getting at is it's a good time to look at trading up to something else right now.
Yeah, that's a very interesting point, because so often we get stuck in things that we're not thrilled with our career. We're not. I was there myself less than 3 years ago, where I just felt very underutilized in my role. I wasn't feeling passionate about what I was doing, and I made a few changes there, and hence this podcast came to life. And so there's always options out there. So I love that you're bringing that up. So Tim, changing gears a little bit, you mentioned one life fully lived a few times, and that if you had to describe it, the core piece of it would be the word fulfillment. Could you go a little deeper into what your organization does and what kind of people you attract with that organization?
Sure, Brad. So we're a 501c3 nonprofit. We've been around since 2011. We've done 10 One Life Fully Lived conferences. We're coming up on our 10th. We've done 6 on the West Coast, 3 on the East Coast. Our slogan is Dream It, Plan It, Live It. And our thought process is everybody has a dream. Few have a written plan of where they're going with their lives. And precious few are living, just intentful, mindful, purposeful lives where we wake up every day and are kind of like, let me at them, because we love what we're doing. And I don't want it to sound like, it's as soon as you join our community, everything's peachy. We all know how life is. But we're all very mindful of who we are, what our game plan is, and so those around us are all kind of in the same place, and it's just this ecosystem of excellence, really, where starting with kids and young adults and millennials and middle-aged and even older people, all kind of either just figuring this stuff out, well on your way, and there's a lot of masters in our community in a holistic, balanced life of fulfillment. So naturally, they say you're the middle of the 5 people you hang out. If you hang out with 5 fully engaged people who are having fun and just doing the best with the cards they've been dealt, you're gonna naturally take each other higher. So that's who we are, and that's how we play. We have a conference October 21st and 22nd in Sacramento, California, and our conferences are amazing. We have world-class presenters and breakout sessions and everything from figuring out who you are to writing a plan to health and wellness and financial freedom, financial, just mastering the basics. And we have experts there who own hundreds of rental units and how they got there. And so all sorts of great stuff.
Fantastic. And if people are interested in checking out that conference, is there somewhere they can go online to learn more?
Yeah, go to onelifefullylive.org. That's the number one, onelifefullylive.org, and press on Sacramento Conference. And for your listeners, we have a special deal. And I'm sure he'll send you a link, but it's One Life MM is the special code to get $75 off. Right now, our conference is $325 and it's $395 at the door. Your listeners get $75 off by going One Life MM at our website, onelifefullylive.org. And just one more quick thing, Brad. I go to conferences that cost like $5,000, and honestly, ours are as good, if not better. And the only reason they're so expensive is it's a nonprofit, and our speakers pay to come to this.
Wow.
To keep the prices so low. And we even have scholarships. If you're listening to this and you'd like to come and you have no money, apply for a scholarship and we'll probably let you come.
Awesome. I love that. Well, thank you for sharing that information, Tim. So one final question before we wrap things up here. If you could go back to that point in your life when you were just beginning to get into the real estate world, you're maybe just exploring that as a potential career path, but you're still a grocery clerk, you're still painting addresses on curbs. Is there one piece of advice you would give to yourself at that stage in the game?
Yeah, two really quick. One is enjoy the ride. I was pretty hard on myself back then, and in my head was basically, you suck, show me something. And that's what I said over and over. And my self-talk, I would have had better self-talk. And so that's one. And two is, I said it earlier, by listening to this podcast, good for you. You're getting your self-education. Put a lot of time, energy into self-love. And that means exercising, eating right, feeding your mind, journaling, and just keeping to learn and grow, be a lifetime learner.
I love those two pieces. I think that those are amazing takeaways, and that is a phenomenal place to start to wrap things up. So, Tim, I just want to real quick say thank you so much for coming on the show, sharing your journey, sharing some of the things you learned, and thank you for the great work you're doing with One Life Fully Lived. It sounds like you're really doing an amazing job with educating people and giving people a really great opportunity to learn how to change their lives for the better. So I just wanted to commend you on that.
Thank you very much, Brad. We also have a Facebook One Life Community, the number one Life, all one word, community on Facebook. So come aboard and see what we got going. We got a really fun ecosystem. I look at it almost like a counterculture of one lifers that are, tuned in, turned on, and getting the goods in the woods.
I love it. Well, we'll definitely have that all linked up in the show notes. So thank you, Tim, and have a beautiful day.
Hey, it's my pleasure, Brad. You too, man. Enjoy.
Hey guys, thank you again for stopping by today to spend a little bit of time with me and the rest of the Millennial Mafia. Just a reminder, you can find all of today's show notes at millennialmm.com/podcast. And if you haven't heard yet, I'm opening up my calendar to you, the listeners, to hop on a 15-minute call with me. The sole purpose of this call is to connect and get to know each other. I want to forge true relationships with you so that we can build up an amazing network and community of ambitious millennials who are going to be the leaders and influencers of tomorrow. If you're interested, please just go to millennialmm.com/call and snag a 15-minute time slot. I look forward to connecting with you. Peace out.